Okay, this video is for parents and teachers, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic where a lot of you are either working from home or have kids that are going to be doing schoolwork from home. And I just wanted to offer an alternative, a very inexpensive alternative for a computer that the kids or you can use. So right now I've got a keyboard, mouse, and an HDMI monitor. The monitor we got used for $25. Keyboard and mouse were probably $15. And then this is an older model Raspberry Pi 3B. Has a gig of memory. It's got 4 USB ports, an Ethernet port. Lots of pins that you can kind of see along here. That's for doing electronics projects. But it's got built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth also. So if you have a Bluetooth keyboard or mouse, or I'm just using a dongle with this one, this little computer you can get for probably about $25 now. There's a new version called the Raspberry Pi 4, which has 1 gig, 2 gig, 4 gig, or 8 gig, depending upon what you want to pay. They start at $35 and go up. I think the 8 gig model is $75. But this little guy right here, $25, I'll demonstrate, can do quite a lot for you. But I also wanted to show you some other single board computers. So these 3 guys right here, these are all called Raspberry Pi Zeros. They're probably the low end, and they're $5 unless you get the Wi-Fi version, and this is a Wi-Fi Bluetooth version, and it's $10, but still really cheap. Why I say this is low end is because they're capable of doing a lot. I use them all the time, but they have a single core processor, whereas this guy has a quad core processor. Makes quite a bit of difference in speed. These also only have 512 meg of memory. So for a lot of things, it's fine if you wanted to do things on the internet. As far as a browser is a real memory hog, and playing videos would be kind of crazy with this. But you can do all kinds of word processing, spreadsheets, etc. with these little guys. They also come with areas for pins. I had to solder in the pins myself for this, but they have a mini HDMI port, a USB, a micro USB, and a micro USB for power. What's cool about these guys, and why you see I have this little dongle attached to it, which it's called a USB dongle, that's it right there, is that with this dongle you can just plug it right into your computer, and you've got the ability to share the internet connection with your computer. So like this version that I have right here, it doesn't have Wi-Fi, so it's great. I plug it in and I share my computer, so I don't need Wi-Fi for it. But if you do need Wi-Fi, they have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Again, $5, $10, and the little USB dongle attachment I think is like $10. This is another pretty popular single board computer. It's called a BeagleBone Black. It's been out for quite a while. The Raspberry Pis have been out since 2012. The reason I use them so much is they have a great user base support. They've got great support. There are tons and tons of YouTube videos and internet blogs that tell you how to do almost anything. The BeagleBone, I think I paid $45 for it. It's got some really interesting characteristics, but I don't use it much. It was something that I used when I was at UVA and we were doing EEG readings, so I kind of learned how to do stuff on it. At the upper end, there's a company in Italy called Udoo. That's UDOO. And they build these boards, and this is called a Udoo X86. And this was more expensive. I got this via Kickstarter, but you can buy them now. And they're probably in the $70 range and up. This one has a processor that allows you to run Windows. So you can run Windows, Linux, Android, whatever you want on those. The Raspberry Pis, you can run Linux, and I do believe they have an Android for it, but you can't run Windows as of right now. What's nice about this guy, so you see it's got an HDMI port, an Ethernet port, USB port, and 2 USB ports in the front. But what I like about this is that you can actually add on a SSD hard drive. So that's a basically partless hard drive, and this one is a 128 gig hard drive on it. So this guy you could truly use as your home computer. It is that powerful. You could do anything. It's got 4 gig of memory on it. This part right here is actually a Arduino Uno, which is a microprocessor. So you can do Arduino projects with this board also. I pretty much use this board for retro gaming when the grandkids are here, and we use it to stream all of our Prime, Stars, everything on this computer. It's got plenty of horsepower. These guys, the Raspberry Pi, which is cheaper, can do all that. You can put RetroPie, which is a retro game software on there. You can put media software, so you can basically turn your Raspberry Pi into like a Amazon Fire Stick and run all of your movies and media and stuff on there. The big one is called Kodi, Kodi. So the Raspberry Pi is plenty powerful enough to do that also. Don't want to take away from it. And it's cheaper. The Raspberry Pi 4, what it gives you besides a faster processor and more memory, either 1 gig, 2, 4, or 8 gigs of memory, it also gives you the ability to have dual monitors on it, where this one you can only have a single monitor. So that's kind of a roundup of these different development boards. For those that don't know it, I was a programmer. I've been a programmer since I was in college. I actually got paid professionally in college. I taught myself initially how to program on a little bitty TRS-80 pocket computer, and that was 1982 starting, and then got my computer science degree at Southeastern Louisiana University, and have been programming ever since, until about 5 years ago. All of these little boards here, these are called microcontrollers, and you can do various things with microcontrollers, from having a weather station. all of these boards can run sensors, can be used for quad, drones, quadcopter drones. They're amazing. These boards range from, I think this one was $10 here, $5 here. You can probably get one of these and one of those for $5, $6 on Amazon. Gets a little more expensive, maybe 10 on that. And I forget what this one was. But they're all used for doing electronic projects. And again, has a fantastic support system for any of the Arduino-based projects. They've been going on probably since the 1990s. So that's what I do with them. I keep my computer skills up. But what I want to show you guys is that you can use this as an alternative to a computer, so you can do it very, very cheaply. And let me set this camera up so I can show you some of the things it does. Okay, I was going to try to mount this on a tripod, but having a little problems. So let me just show you some of the things that are on this computer. So you can see it's very Windows-like. You've got a menu here with all kinds of things installed on the computer. If you need to do work like word processing, it has a word processor called AbiWord, which is a full-blown word processor that can do absolutely everything Microsoft Word, if that's what you're used to using, can do. And you can save whatever you're doing in a Microsoft Word format. So if you need that, it's available. If you are doing business stuff at home and you need something like a spreadsheet, it's another one called Numeric. And again, full-blown spreadsheet. You can do everything that you need to do. And it will save it in Microsoft Excel format if you need to keep your stuff compatible with Microsoft. I don't have it installed on here, but you can actually install something called LibreOffice, and it is a full Office suite like Microsoft Office, and it's completely compatible with Microsoft Office. You can install that on here and be compatible with Microsoft Office. Big one you're probably concerned about is doing stuff on the internet, especially if kids are going to be doing stuff. So it comes with a browser. The Chromium browser is based on Google Chrome, and this one has been made to work very efficiently on a Raspberry Pi. So you can do everything, whatever you want. Okay, let's just jump to Yahoo, and you can see it comes up very quick on this computer. So if you do your mail, if you do Google Classroom, you do whatever, you can do it. Just don't have a ton of tabs open. Some people love to have 5-10 tabs open at a time. Again, I said earlier in the video, browsers are hogs, and they are hogs. It's not something I would be proud of having written because they are big memory pigs. Okay, so your browser, and by the way, I should show you. I'll bring it back up. On this little, again, you can probably get this one for $25 now because the Raspberry Pi 4 is out. But it will play video just fine. So you can see this one's taking a while. Okay, so we bring up a kitten video. And there's your video playing just fine. I don't know if I have the sound up. There's the sound. So video plays fine. Again, think about $25 computer or $35, depending upon, how much you want to do. I've installed a lot of kids stuff on here. The Raspberry Pi was initially designed by a guy in Britain because he thought that the kids in Great Britain were losing their technical skills. They could play with a cell phone, play with a tablet, but they didn't know how anything worked. And he was raised like I was raised. It's one of the things I'll show you on here, where when we had our first home computers, there was none of this beautiful Windows, menus, anything. You had a computer and it started up in typically BASIC. It started, might as well just bring that up. So these are emulations. So this was my first computer. It was called a TRS-80 color computer. So a lot of people had Commodore 64s. Well, this was mine. And it comes right up into BASIC. No menus, no GUI interface, no nothing. You just start typing your programs in. And I'm doing this one hand. All I'm going to do is set up a little loop here. Print hello. And the loop's just saying print hello 10 times. And then you're in your program. And it prints hello 10 times. So this is the way a lot of us started on computers in the late 70s, early 80s, was just like this. You had a screen that came up with a prompt and you started saving. Initially, you saved it to a cassette, so you had to have a cassette deck plugged into your computer. Later, they came out with the disk drives. Hard disks didn't come out until way, way later. So that's an example of something that we did way back in the day. I also put on here a couple Commodore 64 DOS computer. So another thing kids love to do is they play games. Here is a way of doing games very cheaply. I know my granddaughter, she loves to play on her Nintendo Switch, and my son-in-law, he's got a PlayStation 4, and the games are like $60 a piece. You can go get all of these old DOS games off the internet for free. So when PCs first came out, this is what a PC, let me bring it full screen. Oops. That's what a PC would look like. It just booted up and you had a prompt, period. Almost like the old computers. And you had to have programs that you installed on there. I actually have a menu program and I've kind of put everything on menus to make it really nice. But let me bring up a game. Tetris. Everybody loves Tetris. Choose your video. And you can start playing Tetris. And again, like I said, there are thousands of games, production software, and stuff on the internet. All you have to do is look at Google abandonware DOS, and all of it's for free. So if you want your kids to have games and you don't want to spend a lot of money, this is a way that you can do it. So I'm going to close out of that. And again, tons and tons of software out there. But this comes with, you can install. So here is one for much younger kids. I would say this is probably, you know, first, kindergarten, first, second, third. You just choose an activity, and there's falling words. So it's almost kind of like a Space Invaders, this particular
Type the words on your keyboard before they reach the ground.
And you just type the words.
I X A.
And there's just tons of different games that come with this one. It's called G Comprise. Again, all free. Don't pay a cent. Oops. Close out of that. One that my grandkids loved was called Tux Math. And there are different levels of things that you can do with Tux Math. I'll just show one. So we're going to play alone. Arcade game. And so you see there are problems that float down, and they have to work those out and then type the answer. So I could see this being really fun for kids learning how to add, subtract, multiply, divide. So that's another one, and there's lots of different variations of math games that you can play on there. One of my granddaughters loved this Tux Paint. It's a really kind of cool kids. So I'm going to start a new painting. And so it does all the things that a normal paint program does, but it gives you something a little extra. Let's choose this one. You can do something called stamps. And I'm going to come over here and pick a stamp. See if I can find a bird. There's a bird that's flying. And you can go through and find, maybe you want to... Penguin on the ground. And you can put all kinds of different things. The penguin's having a birthday. So it lets the kids be really creative. Besides just drawing, they can use all these things called stamps. No, I'm not going to save it. Programming, again, that's kind of why the Raspberry Pi was developed, was to get kids interested in programming. And there's some really cool ones like Scratch And Scratch is called block programming. So what you do is, this is your little character, your sprite that you want to do. And let's say you wanted to make that sprite move a certain number of steps. So this says move 10 steps. And you click on it and you can see he's moving across the screen. So then you can do other things, like come in and say, well, I want him to move those 10 steps, but I want him to do it 10 times. And that's what it's saying. Repeat this block 10 times. Or you can change that. I want to move it 20. And I want to repeat it 100. So let me back our little guy up. So now when you click on this, you can see he runs across the screen. I'll grab them and bring them back. So you can do all kinds of programming just by dragging and dropping. It's got everything that you can do. You can change costumes, and again, this is a very well established product developed by MIT, and so there's tons of examples of stuff that you can your kids could learn to do. I'm an adult, I like playing with it. Let's close out of that. No, I don't want to save it. So another one is called EduBlock. It's very much like Scratch. Everything is block oriented, but what's cool with this is it takes the blocks and it converts it to Python. So Python is one of the most popular programming languages right now. And see, you can actually make it work with. So if I wanted to make my projects, a little electronic projects with a Raspberry Pi or something from CircuitPython, you can do that. And so again, you've got the same kind of blocks. You want to, let me see, here's a for loop. And I want to do a loop 20 times. And I want to print hello world. So that's telling me when I run this, I want to print the hello world 20 times. So I come up here, click the menu, say run, and there hello world prints 20 times. Escape out. But if you click over here on blocks, now you can see what the Python code looks like. So this is a really sweet little program for taking kids, once they understand the blocks, and moving them a step further into actually using a computer programming language, Python. And the Raspberry Pi can do anything. It can do Python, it can do Fortran, it can do C, BASIC, you name the language, Ada. You can do programming for the language on this little Raspberry Pi. What are some other things? So if you need to do a painting project, you can do a painting project. It's, you know, just as good as you'd have on a PC. Oops. Yes. And close that down. Video player. So if you do have videos, if you've got a USB to DVD kind of player, you can play your videos through this media player. The media player also I use a lot. Set it on playlists, and you can come down here to radio stations and just listen to a radio station. once it pulls up its list. So there's different radio stations that you can listen to online. Now what's cool about this is you can actually send it to another desktop. Turn the volume down on that. So these little blocks that you see down here on the bottom of the screen, these are called virtual desktops or workspaces. So there's my video player in that workspace, but then I can come over here to this workstation, maybe bring open a browser, and so the radio is playing in the background with this, and then I can do whatever I want to do from the browser. And I hope you can see it's all pretty quick for this little, again, you can probably get this computer for $25. So that's another thing that I love about just Linux in general, is this capability of workspaces when you've only got a single screen to work on. So let's close that down. Tons of games if the kids want to play games. Oops, it's taking a bit. There you go. Minecraft, yes, Minecraft is on here. It's their, I'd say, Raspberry Pi version of Minecraft, so they can play Minecraft. I'd say that's probably about it. So you kind of got your choice of all kinds of different things that you can do with these. I would recommend, personally, getting the new Raspberry Pi 4. $35 for a gig. I think for 2 gigs it's $45. For 4 gigs it's $55. And you've got a desktop computer. I am not joking. These things are that fast, and with the more memory, then you can use your browser like you would normally do. So from anywhere from $35 to $70 with one of these, you can do pretty much everything you can do on your desktop computer. Just, it won't run Windows yet. And I say yet because there are people that are playing on getting Windows. But the Raspberry Pi organization, which I'll have a link to some of this stuff below the video, it has everything you need to know about how to set the little Raspberry Pi up. It all runs on an SD card. And there's the SD card. It's a micro SD card. I've got a 16 gig micro SD card in there, but you can get 32, 64 gig. The new Raspberry Pi 4, you can actually attach a USB SSD, which is the super fast solid state hard drives, and you can boot it and run it from the solid state hard drive, which is much better. So that's kind of an overview of what you can do with this. One other thing is, if you don't have the capability of having a monitor and stuff, you can actually attach this little guy to your network and then do something called VNC, which is a virtual network connection. Any of you guys that have done remote desktop working from home to connect to your computer at work, you can do that. So I'll demonstrate that here on my laptop. So I'm going to go to a different workspace and bring up my virtual network. And so this is a computer that I have running in my office, and it is just simply connected to my router. It's a Raspberry Pi 2, so it's sitting in there just plugged in with a USB for power and a network cable into the router, and that's it. But now I've got access to doing everything just like you saw me, except I'm doing it remotely. And this is actually a Raspberry Pi 2 that I'm running, which I don't even know if you can buy now. But slower processor, you can see it's taken a little while longer for stuff to come up. But that is another idea, is that you can have one of these just sitting connected to your router. It doesn't have to have a monitor, and you can just remote in from your desktop or your laptop. Anyway, all of this kind of information I will put links to below this video. A very inexpensive alternative to either buying a Chromebook or buying a laptop for your kids or yourself. Like I said, this was a used monitor that we got for $25. Probably $10 or $11 for the mouse and keyboard at Walmart, and then the $35 Raspberry Pi. That's it. Anyway, I hope this video is useful to you. Thanks. So that is my Raspberry Pi 2. I just wanted to show you, connected up to our router, actually a switch, that I demonstrated on the laptop. And this little guy here is a different kind of Raspberry Pi. It's called a Nano Pi, and it runs our ad blocking software so we don't get any ads whenever we're in our browser. Anyway, that's it.